Hey, this is Kobe R. Rice again, and this is not even going to be that long of a video because I really only have to say one thing to Will Packer and Aaron Magruder, and that is yes, yes, yes. First of all, if you guys were paying attention to my channel, as of yesterday, not even a full 24 hours ago, I basically recorded an open video response, an open letter to the four creators. Actually, it's really the two creators with the two add-on creators of the up-and-coming Confederate series that was just given the go or the green light by HBO. And I had a lot of questions about the premise of the series. And if you guys are still catching up with all of this, Confederate is supposed to be exploring the sci-fi, dystopian, alternative history idea of what if slavery never ended and was taken into the modern age, wherein the southern states were basically still keeping their slave states, but just adapting it to the modern era, whereas the North remains separate, right? And I had a lot of issues with that. I had a lot of questions, concerns, and inquiries. And if you're curious, you can just check out, I'm not really sure which side of the video it's going to be on, but just check out the video that I recorded yesterday on that. It pretty much gets out all of my thoughts on Confederate. And then today, because I had called a few people yesterday just in disbelief and just floored basically at just the idea of Confederate being out in the world and doing what it's going to do. So I was talking about Confederate with my friends, and then another friend texts me today, all right, another Hollywood friend of mine. She's awesome. And she texts me with this Deadline article, which I believe came out today. Let me just double check. Let me see. Yes, it came out today, approximately 3 hours ago, which is great. This Deadline article basically saying that Will Packer and Aaron Magruder are creating a Amazon Studios based or sponsored series called Black America, where in contrast to Confederate, the Black America TV series or streaming series that they're creating explores Black Americans having received reparations instead of remaining as slaves, which I was just like, yes, yes. This is what happens when African American people, Black people, people of all different corners, from all different corners of the diaspora. This is what happens when we decide to take control of our narrative. This is what happens when we sit down and we think about, science fiction context, fantasy context, alternative history context, and we think about our experiences as people, about our pain as people, about our trajectory and how far we have come and how far we have to go as a people. This is what happens when we combine those experiences, which are authentic and true to our experiences, with brilliant creative minds. We come out with amazing concepts like this that explore the empowerment of Black people, that explore, the leadership and the potential of Black people, that explore the sovereignty of Black people. Okay? And actually, as I was really processing how I felt about, I'm ecstatic about the fact that Black America will be coming out. And just as an FYI to all you haters who are going to come onto this channel and say, well, they're just copying off of Benioff and Weiss. No, actually, this project has been in development well over a year, and they started developing this project before Benioff and Weiss even started thinking about their alt history, concept, Confederate. And the industry is pretty small, so I wouldn't be surprised if word had gotten around the industry that Magruder and Packer were doing this project, and then Benioff and Weiss were like, oh, let's do a counterpoint. That wouldn't actually surprise me. I'm not accusing, I'm just saying, you notice actually a lot in Hollywood. Movies and TV shows with similar concepts tend to spring up at the same time or one after another. That's not by accident, and that's not a coincidence. So, yet and still, even if Confederate was just conceived in and of itself as a unique premise, obviously I gravitate more to the premise of the Black America concept than I would the Confederate concept. And I think it's now that we have this counterpoint that's coming out, I feel a lot less anxious about Confederate. So mind you, for those of you who think I was being super sensitive or, super PC and super lib or libtard, as you guys call it, first of all, I'm not a liberal, I'm a progressive. A progressive that actually is left of center. You would be surprised at how middle ground and modest I can be on some certain issues. But for those of you who are automatically assuming that I was advocating for the censorship of Confederate, that's not me. You will never ever hear me say, you shouldn't air this show or you should censor this show because I don't like it. I'm a writer, I do not believe in censorship. Even if you're the most grotesque, repulsive person on the planet, like, people who are part of hate groups or whatever, I don't like that they exist, but I would never, unless they're encroaching upon the actual freedoms and safety of other people, I would never ask any group to silence their opinions. That's just very counter to what our country is supposed to stand for and what I stand for as like a writer. So I do not believe in censorship. I don't believe that I will always be invested or give a crap about your message or agree with your message, or that I would never say that I will not be offended by your message if it's offensive, but I won't ever say censor it. So if that's the message you got from the last video, that's not what I was saying. Actually, I feel a lot more comfortable now that Confederate exists, now that we have the Black America concept coming out, because it'll be interesting to see the contrast and to compare and to really start to understand how two white men envision Black people as individuals and as self-actualized human beings in some sort of not so far off future versus how two Black men envision Black people and Black sovereignty. And I guarantee you're going to see a major difference in how we view ourselves versus how others view Black people. Trust me. So I just want to say, like, amazing clapback to you guys. I mean, actually, it wasn't even a clapback. Black America was in development before Confederate was even an itch in their daddy's pants. So it was sort of like a Nostradamus, Negrodamus level clapback, like a prophetic clapback to the Weiss and Benioff idea. And I think it's amazing. And like I said, I feel a lot more comfortable with the fact that Confederate is sort of going to be out there floating now that Black America will also be out there providing a counter narrative. And this is the thing that concerns me the most about being a Black creator and being a Black consumer of media, is that everybody, can have their perspectives. But when you see one perspective, particularly a white supremacist and a racist perspective or a privileged or a prejudiced perspective out there against Black people, and that's the only perspective that we're seeing, where we're characterized as thugs, as criminals, like in The Wire, as, big Black bucks who don't know what to do with themselves, their sexuality, and their money, like in Ballers. If we're continually characterized as, dancers and musicians who are constantly involved in drama and crime, like in Empire, as entertaining as these intellectual properties are, they continue to cast African Americans in the same light and continue to perpetuate stereotypes that really limit our expression of self to a very small box. Whereas Black America, based on the fact that it's a sovereign state and it's basically going to be populated with Black people who've been able to rebuild and reconstruct things after slavery, like in that context, you can see the entire gamut of blackness. And you know, you don't only see the criminals and the bucks and all the bad, you know, the quote unquote bad aspects of black society. You see the good aspects. You're gonna see black lawyers, black doctors, black politicians. I mean, and I don't mean one black person in a sea of whiteness. I mean, you're going to see people who are in prominent positions of power who are also not, you know, the 1% in the crowd of 99% white people. And that to me is significant. That to me allows us to explore the African American experience from a perspective of humanity rather than from a perspective of being caricatures. And that's what's most important to me. I love the idea that we get to be more than slaves, that we get to be more than athletes, that we get to be more than musicians. It's just amazing. And this is not to say that, you know, slavery is something we shouldn't talk about anymore. It's not to say that athletes and musicians and entertainers are not important and are not successful and are not making contributions to our society, because they are. But when that's all you see is African Americans putting on entertainment for everybody, or being the workhorse for everybody, that's a problem, you know? I mean, and if you can't understand where I'm coming from, then I'm sorry. You just don't get it, and you just need to move on. Like, if you don't agree and you're like one of these sort of, you know, apologists for, you know, the very oppressive institution of like white power and privilege, and you don't care, you're not invested, and you don't want to challenge the system because you just can't fathom a society where blacks are equal to you, then this is just like not the video for you, and this definitely is not the series for you. So just don't even turn on Black America at all. I mean, you're the one who probably needs to watch Black America if you know, you feel this way about blacks being inferior even on a sub level. But you probably are not. So just like move on, go watch Confederate, you know, like get your dose of superiority and privilege and, you know, moral superiority and all that. Like let it wash over you. Like let it make you feel the way that you need to feel in order to function in a society that is multicultural and you don't really know where your place is. If you need that, go and get that. And I'm going to actually sort of stop there with my with my critique of Confederate, because I really don't want to get too deep into it until I see the series itself, the pilot in particular. I will be watching all of Black America because not only is it something that I'm interested in, but when Black creators make things, we need to go and support it. For those of you who actually care whether or not Black creators are putting our narratives out there, like it's not enough just to talk about it and make videos like I am. Like you actually need to go and support this with your time, with your money, with your minutes. Amazon is very, very good at tracking like views, tracking clicks, tracking where you're going on the website. They have algorithms that will blow your mind, and they know exactly how much you're watching, when, why, how, and where. And so if you're really about trying to see more of this kind of material out in the world where African Americans and blacks are reclaiming their narratives and creating stories based on their experience, then you need to go and support it. So don't just sit and clap back and be on social media tweeting it. You need to go and support it. And at this point, actually, I'll probably end up watching both, depending on how good Confederate is. Good. If it's a decent show and it's not like full of a bunch of coonery, I mean, to a certain degree, I will watch it, and I will certainly be making comparisons and figuring out who, you know, which show did what better, which show is humanizing their characters the best, which show is just you know, anyway. So it's just going to be very interesting, and I just wanted to say, give a major, major thank you to both Will Packer and Aaron Magruder for being that example for us, for taking your influence, your power, your money, and putting it behind a project that you believe in, putting it behind a project that is a reclamation of the Black narrative and is a reclamation and reconstruction of the Black experience. Because we all know that no matter how many times, or rather, we all know that no matter how accurate or inaccurate an image is, if it keeps getting shown to people, they'll start to believe the image, even if it's a complete lie. So we need to start putting the image out of, just black health, black success, black functionality, black sovereignty, and just like black equality. And so I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing. Like that's really amazing, and you guys are really, walking your talk. And Aaron Magruder, I've been a fan of ever since Boondocks, and people are gonna have their own opinions about about the Boondocks. Like some people think it's coonery, some people think it's not. I think that it is written in a very particular, specific way that highlights a lot of very insightful social commentary. If you can sit down and understand satire and know when they're using it and when he's using it and when he wasn't using it, there's a lot you can learn, and there's a lot of authenticity to the Boondocks. And I want to be careful when I use the word authenticity, because if you're a superficial level thinker and all you see is people acting thuggish and just kind of being coons or whatever, you're going to assume that that's the authentic black experience. And that's not really what you should be looking at. You should be looking at the messages, the plot, and the conclusions that the characters are coming to at the end, to really understand the kind of statement that Aaron Magruder was trying to make in his series, because it was just it was really brilliantly done, in my opinion. But that's only if you're willing to read between the lines and understand what he's actually saying. For those of you who just want to hate on black people or want to think that we're thugs and animals, you're not going to see past the satire, and that's on you. Like, I think we're at a point, all of us, where we're just not really caring about what anybody else thinks except for our own community. I think we're getting to that point. And so the more that we create these kinds of stories and the more that we humanize ourselves and validate ourselves and our experience, the better, in my opinion. As a final note, for those of you watching this, please, again, when I critique the institution of whiteness, I am not critiquing individuals, I'm critiquing the institution. Whether or not you belong to that institution and you are complicit in the oppression of other people through that institution is completely up to you. So you get to choose your own destiny, okay? Like those R.L. Stein choose your own scare books. Like, you get to choose whether or not you're going to be the hero in the story or if you're going to be the villain. That's up to you. So if you want to stay unconscious and you want to stay, if you want to stay asleep and you want to continue to benefit off the oppression of others, by all means do that. But you need to own up to your own complicity and your own participation in that system. But if you are an individual who is actively trying to fight against that institution, then good on you. Welcome to the struggle, and thank you for being woke and trying your best to challenge things that you have learned about the black experience through people who are not black. And by watching this series and really trying to get into understanding black culture and black history, it's important because these are two men who have the experience of being black men telling you about their experiences from their own mouths through their work. You're not hearing it from, racist media outlets or Fox News or through music videos or through media representations of blackness. You're hearing it pretty much straight from the horse's mouth. Yet and still, everybody should stay interrogative, and keep questioning, keep asking questions. I mean, you shouldn't sit and be a passive audience with any show, even if it's a show that you're super excited about, like Black America, which I'm super excited about. I will continue to question and ask questions, but for now, I'm super excited. I'm super looking forward to it, and I'm just glad that there is a counter narrative to Confederate that is coming out, and so I will be watching it. So thank you so much, Packer and Magruder. Looking forward to it, and I think that's about it. I was kind of pissed off yesterday, but today I'm just man, this is. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? For those of you who know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so tune in to Black America, tune in to Confederate, and I hope that you guys are also actively engaging with these two shows and trying to figure out how you feel about them. But that's it. I'll see you guys on the flip side. I'll be waiting for Black America to come out, so I'll be posting. Bye.